Hi there, welcome to episode 12 of my podcast, The Knitting Equestrian Nomad. My name's Karina and I live in Western Washington with my partner, my two kitties, and two horses. I am recording on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. Normally I record on weekends, but we got some brand new, faster internet yesterday, so I wanted to test out our connection. I'll get back to the welcome here. I'm kind of scattered, which I suppose is normal. And I have a finished object that I'm super proud of. So anyway, welcome everyone. If you are a new viewer, I'm glad to have you. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back, and I hope you enjoy the content. This podcast is primarily about my knitting. That's how I always start. I always try to. I also like to garden and cook based on recipes that inspire me, and also from my gardening efforts. And also I tend to spend about half of my episodes on horsemanship. I have two Mustangs, Odin and Braggy, that I adopted from the Bureau of Land Management Wild Horse Adoption Program, and we'll have a link for that in my show notes. So, I am excited to get started. So, the first thing about knitting, so finished objects. What I'm wearing it. This is the puzzle shawl from the Knitalong that was hosted by Sofia from the Kammeborn podcast. It's a Swedish podcast. I highly recommend that you watch it. It's she's what do you call it? She does the closed captioning in English. So not closed captioning. That's not the word I'm looking for. Anyway, it is in part in English, so that if you don't speak Swedish, which I don't, at least not well. I have to admit, though, that I was inspired to start learning Swedish because of her podcast. I have said that before. I also have Swedish heritage, so there's also that connection as well. But all that to say, it's a beautiful podcast, and she hosted a knit-along, this puzzle shawl. It's called a puzzle shawl because she showed what the finished object was going to be, and then sent out the pattern in pieces. So that was really fun. Her shawl was in just one color, I believe, but when she introduced the project, she said it took 4 50-ounce balls of yarn, so you could do 4 different colors, and I love that idea. So I did it, and I'll get closer here, and I realized that I very much need a haircut, so I apologize for that. Soon, hopefully next week. So I did mine in a lavender and white. Hopefully this shows up okay. And then this variegated purple yarn. So the lavender and the white is a from Yorkshire Spinners, and at least these colors were discontinued. So I snapped these up, and then the other colors that I wanted were discontinued. So I got this 100-gram skein of Malabrigo, and actually I have quite a bit left. So stand by. So yeah, I have this much left of this Malabrigo, and this is a DK weight yarn. So I'm not sure if this is enough for like cuffs and ribbing on a sweater, or what exactly I'm going to use it for, but I have it kind of up on this shelf that's pondering projects. But anyway, back to the shawl. So it takes 200 ounces of yarn, although obviously I did less since I have so much of the Malabrigo left. It's DK weight, and the pattern is primarily in moss stitch with some lace. So, and the bind off is a picot binding. So isn't that cool? That's a new skill that I learned. But anyway, I think it turned out beautifully. It's a nice lightweight shawl. Here's the back of it. I'm really looking forward to wearing it. The weather was a little bit fallish this morning. So, and the sun's out now, so I'm not going to wear it any longer, but I just really wanted to show this off because it's beautiful, and you can find the pattern on Ravelry if you would like to knit it. It was a fairly fast knit. I admit that I was pretty focused on it too. So that is my finished object that I'm super proud of. I have a couple other whips that are getting close to being finished, so I'll talk about those. Let's see here. I've been working on this Adeline Tea by Berroco, and this is out of Noro yarn, which is a Japanese yarn company. And I did a gauge swatch, which I don't normally do gauge swatches. I know that's like verboten to knitters, but I normally don't. Usually it's just good enough. But I decided I would do a gauge swatch because I was using a different yarn than what was recommended. And frankly, it didn't do me any good. This pattern is knit in pieces, and it was just too small. So even though I picked a size, there's supposed to be a significant amount of positive ease, but it wasn't going to fit right. And so I ended up learning a new skill. So learning how to add panels when you need to, so this is at the side. So just, and you can see I had to add quite a bit. I don't exactly know how this is going to fit, but if it's too big, that's fine. I like loose garments. What I envision is that I'm going to wear this with like a tank top or something. I almost always wear a tank top under a shirt, just for more security. I'm kind of sloppy with buttons, and you know, I don't like gaps. I like to be covered. So anyway, so I have this much left on this side, so I'm doing the same thing on this right side, and then the sleeves I don't expect will take very long. So hopefully I will be able to wear this, you know, at least sometime in September, when I expect the weather to continue to be nice. So anyway, here is the lace pattern of the front of the garment. So, and I think that, you know, that's going to fit fine. It reaches my shoulders. I just wanted some room, you know, under my arms, and just make sure it was nice and floppy on the side. So the total number of stitches around still is in the size scheme of the pattern. So I will just, whenever I do the sleeves, I'll just add those as if I had started with that bigger pattern. I've shared this before. These needles were my grandmother's. So they're stainless steel, they're long, they're a bit heavy. Oh, my notes decided to go away. Okay, here we are, back on track. They're a little bit heavy and they're long. They're longer than I'm used to, but I've gotten used to them and I kind of like them. And actually these stitch stoppers here were also hers, and they're rubber. So I'm surprised that they've lasted all this long. So anyway, that's that project. It's in a reusable grocery bag that I got in Southern California. I think it's City of Thousand Oaks. From when I lived down there, when I worked for the Park Service. So I know lots of people like to use specially made project bags. I have a few that I like, and in fact, I will show one here. Oh, why don't I show it right now? So this is a project bag my mom knit for me. I don't have any bags made from like I bought it in an Etsy shop or anything like that. I just tend to use, you know, I have a lot of recycled or reusable grocery bags, so that's what I tend to use. So the second whip are socks. So here's the second sock. I am using a pattern out of this book. So custom socks, and it's basically a book full of sock recipes. So I'm using the one for the basic top-down sock pattern. And I know, interestingly, a lot of people have trouble with the heel flap and gusset. I don't mind that at all. I haven't had no problem with that. Where I have problems is with the toes. So I finished one sock, and I almost hesitate to share this, but you know, why not? I'm gonna end up ripping it out anyway. But anyway, the toe ended up being super pointy. So I'm gonna rip this out once I figure this, pay more attention to the sock, to the toe on this one. I will rip it back and then redo this part. But anyway, this is what the sock looks like. So I'm looking forward to wearing these again when you know, the weather gets cool enough. The second sock's going along pretty well. I should share with you. I mean, oops. Share with you what I got done. So this is where I started this morning. And then yesterday, basically, I did all of this because I had to, I was attaching, or I had finished the heel flap and gusset and was, you know, connecting all the pieces together for the instep. And so basically, I knit all of this yesterday. So I tend to knit. Yesterday was a work day, but I had a lot of Zoom meetings, and I tend to knit during Zoom meetings if I'm not presenting, if I'm just listening. And so I got a lot done on that. Speaking of socks, I'm not quite finished with my whip, so I just wanted to show another book that I'm kind of exploring. This book was featured on the Grocery Girls a while ago, the Grocery Girls podcast. I haven't tried it yet, but the idea is intriguing. It has kind of a steeking method in here, which admit I'm a little bit intimidated. I would like to be able to steek sweaters. What has been stopping me is most of the time you have to sew the edges, and I don't have a sewing machine. I'm not a sewer at all. So so I thought I would start with something small, like socks, and see how that went. And that is not normally how I do things. Normally what I do is jump into a big project with both feet and then kind of go back and say, you know, I probably should have started with a smaller project. I have to admit, right now I'm really into knitting socks. A few years ago, when some of my friends were knitting socks, I really didn't understand what the big deal was. But it's kind of addictive. So I have 2 pairs of socks that I have made this year, but they are in a heavier weight of wool, and I just haven't worn them. So, but these lighter ones, these definitely fingering weight socks, I think those will be more, those can be more summer socks. And then the other project I'm working on are these mittens, these Songbird Mittens by Erica Heusel. So here's the pattern. It's a paid for pattern, available on Ravelry. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. Here is this is the right hand mitt. So yeah, I finished the cuff and I've started on the design. Where is the finished one? Here is, oh look, it's not finished yet because I didn't sew in that end. My notes went away, so not that I think I'm going to get terribly lost without my notes, but you know, they help keep me on track, quite honestly. So here is here's the mitt. So this is the Songbird, which, you know, surprising, that's kind of the easy part. The hard part was this front. It's, as you can see, it's fairly precise, and you kind of have to watch yourself. These mittens fit my hands perfectly. My middle finger is right there, The thumb is a little bit longer than my thumb, which I'm happy about. There's only one size for this pattern, so hopefully your hands are, mine are just on the cusp of medium and large, and the pattern is for a medium glove. So that is something I will have to pay attention to in the future. The second glove mitt is, I have to admit, is going a lot more smoothly and easier than the first one. The first one I feel like took a really long time. Okay, so since I have a finished project, what am I going to cast on? I'm going to try really hard to either finish a sock or the Adeline Tea before I actually cast on, but I am going through the motions of putting on, oh, I didn't show off my project bag, sorry. So this is a panda bag that my friend, graduate school friend gave me. No, sorry, my mom gave me this. I think she went to a Smithsonian museum many years ago and brought me back this bag. I do have another bag that a graduate school friend gave me, but I don't have it up here. So it could be that that bag holds a project that is in a timeout. So I have a couple of those too. So what am I going to cast on? I am going to cast on the Lovenote sweater. This is a pattern by TinCan Knits. It's been fairly popular, I think probably within the last 8 months maybe. So I'm looking forward to that. The yarn is a mohair and figuring that you hold double. So I have gotten my bag together with the requisite amount of needles and size of needles, and I have wound the yarn. I don't have a ball winder. What I use is the back of a chair, and I just hand wind it while I'm watching something. This morning I happened to be watching an Arne and Carlos, one of their Sit and Knit for a Bit podcasts, their most recent one. By the way, I want to mention, so one of the reasons that I have been really attracted to knitting podcasts is not only for the ideas and inspiration I get, but also because to me it's a good time to work on your projects if you want to, whatever that is, whether it's embroidery, crochet, knitting, or drawing, or whatever. Anyway, all that to say, so I'm super excited about holding these strands of yarn together to knit the Lovenote. This yarn is locally dyed by Skein Tipple, which is a yarn store, and it's a teeny tiny yarn store that has a cocktail bar in the back. Now, isn't that nifty? So while I was on vacation in July, I went camping with a friend, and we went to Whidbey Island, and of course this was on our agenda. So here is the label, Salt and Color, hand-dyed yarn, Skein Tipple. So this is 72% mohair, kid mohair, and 28% silk. And it's paired with this 100% organic fingering fine merino yarn. So I love this. This is going to take 4 skeins total, so 2 of each color, held double. So super excited about that. Yeah, and you know, honestly, this was really reasonably priced. I don't know that she does online orders, so I kind of hate to keep bringing it up, but if you're ever on Whidbey Island, off the coast of Washington, it's a place you can drive to from the mainland because there's a bridge. You can also take a ferry directly into the town that Skein Tipple is located. highly recommend going there. If you go late in the day, like around 4 p.m., and you buy your yarn, I think they will let you in the cocktail lounge. They will let knitters in the cocktail lounge, perhaps a little bit early. So, yeah, enough said about that. Can't wait to show you when it's a work in progress. And get my bundles together here. This is a bag someone gave me. It was either my sister-in-law or my mom. I can't remember who gave me that bag. I got to put the Songbird pattern back in its bag. Otherwise, when I go to knit early in the morning, I'll be a little lost. Okay, what else do I have going on? So the other knit-wise thing that I have going on is a pattern by, she's a Finnish woman. Let me see if I can go back to my show notes. It's like Kutovakika or something like that, and hopefully I put that in my show notes, and if I didn't, I didn't, I will add that to my list of podcasts I listen to. Anyway, she released a pattern very recently. It's a nice summer pattern. It's called the Lola top. So, and this is her modeling it. And it's made out of cotton yarn. So I had a project that I started crocheting years ago out of this pink and white yarn, and I didn't like the way it turned out, so I didn't finish it, and so it's been languishing for at least 10 years, if not longer. Well, I saw this project come up and I thought, oh, that's perfect for cotton yarn. So I could cast on now because I have a lot of the project undone. So I could certainly start and then just finish ripping it out when when I run out of the yarn. But I haven't been in a huge hurry. It seems like I should be, because summer is definitely coming to an end here in Northwest Washington. We're getting fall, although from what I understand, we are expecting nice weather pretty much through September. So all that to say, I still probably won't have that project done even if I cast on tomorrow. So I guess the question is, do I cast on Lovenote or do I cast that on? Oh, dilemma. If you have an opinion, feel free to comment. I would love to get some comments. So that is all I have going on for knitting projects. Let me see what else is going on. Oh, I know. I have an acquisitions. What did I do with it? Well, after all that, I did not bring it upstairs, so I will share it with you next time. But the Bakery Bears, which I do have in my show notes, they are hosting a Sockoween cow. And I ordered some yarn from a independent yarn dyer. Ray Whiting is his name, and he goes by Knitterman or Knittivity. So I put a link to his blog. And he dyed some yarn. I asked him if he, once his blog post came out in early August, I asked him if he was planning any Halloween colors, and he said he wasn't, and asked me what I had in mind. So I told him what I wanted, pumpkin patch colors, like orange and green and maybe some white and maybe a little yellow, like if you think of a jack-o'-lantern with a flame. And then, of course, black because it's nighttime. So he dyed up a skein and asked me what I thought. And I loved it. So I could... I'll just show that to you next time, because I will definitely... Sockoween starts October 1st, I believe. I am planning on knitting the Hermione sock pattern, which I believe is a free pattern that you can get on Ravelry. So that's what I'm planning on knitting. I'll use this basic sock recipe that I showed you from the book once I figure the toes out and get that all squared away. So yeah, and I also, I didn't know that sock yarn was so addictive. Well, when I bought the Lovenote yarn from Skein Tipple, they also had a sock set. So in other words, a skein yarn, a fingering weight yarn with a mini for the contrast for the cuffs and heels. So I bought one of those. And then Legacy Fiber released their fall new colors for fall, so I had to get one of those. And then Ray Whiting also had a new batch of dyed yarn, and there was a skein in a colorway that I couldn't live without, so I ordered that. So I will have more acquisitions for you the next time I podcast. So can't believe I've been rambling on for 25 minutes already. So I can talk about gardening. So gardening, it got to a late start because we had such a cold spring, but the tomatoes, been harvesting tomatoes, which are delicious, green beans, blueberries, some zucchini, cucumber, and lots of greens and herbs. So that's been really fun. I'm going to have a lot of tomatoes if they get ripe. That is the big question here, whether or not we have enough daylight and heat during the day for tomatoes to ripen out on the vine. So we'll keep my fingers crossed. I think I said I had a dahlia. It's a really pretty kind of peach color, pale peach color, and a sunflower that's come up. So it's a teddy bear sunflower. It's not quite fully open yet, but it's been beautiful. And I've had a lot of poppies that are now forming their seed pods. Should have some more, another small harvest of blueberries. Those are so tasty. I especially love the lemonade blueberries. They are pink color, so those are really tasty and fun. Cooking projects. There was an article in the Seattle Times recently about cooking ramen, and it happened to be Trailside. I was going to look for the recipe for that, but I actually wrote it down on a piece of paper rather than cutting it out of the news. Well, I probably saw it online. So anyway, I just I wrote it down. But if you are interested, feel free to Google Trailside Ramen Seattle Times, and you will probably be directed right to the article. So there are some things I don't put in my ramen. The recipe calls for beef. We don't eat that much beef anymore. We eat it once in a while, but I've been trying to eat more plant-based foods and non-meat items. I still eat a lot of dairy, so I'm not vegan. But so I mean, I like fish and I like shrimp, so I'm not vegetarian. Just try to reduce the amount of meat that I eat. Part of that is for health. Part of that is for just to kind of support this good old planet. It needs our help, so that is one way I can contribute. So I put shrimp and vegetable dumplings in my ramen, and it's pretty tasty. Oh, and of course the obligatory boiled egg on top. I also made a vegetable minestrone. So per the Joy of Cooking cookbook, I keep a freezer bag of vegetable cuttings and stuff that would ordinarily go in the compost or the trash if you don't have compost. I keep that in the freezer, and I make soup stock out of it. It makes really great homemade soup stock that's not very hard. And if we have eaten meat, like have steak bones or chicken bones, I put that in there too. So soup stock isn't always vegetarian, but it's a good way to just add flavor to your soup stock, and also just use as much as possible as you can. Reduce the amount of waste. I think that also supports our wonderful planet. I feel like I was going to say something else about that, about soup stock. But I don't know. So anyway, I made the minestrone. It's mostly vegetables, besides the soup stocks, and that was really tasty. I know what I was going to say about soup stock. What you don't want to put in your soup stock are like kale stems, anything that's really cabbagey, because it will take over the flavor. So my soup stock usually has mushroom stems, which if you don't eat meat, I think mushrooms are a great way to add some body to your soup stock. I add leek. I really like using leeks. So I add there's usually a pretty good stem in leeks. That's not suitable for cooking or not edible. So I put that in soup stock. That's really great. Shriveled carrots. If there's any shriveled lettuce or celery, anything like that makes really good soup stock vegetables for your freezer bag. So, and I make soup stock anywhere from, every couple of weeks or, maybe once a month, or sometimes less frequently. So anyway, what else did I want to say? Oh, about the minestrone. So we had a bunch of beet greens. So for the greens part of the minestrone, I added beet greens, kind of forgetting that beet greens will turn your whole soup kind of purple. So I'm the only one in the household that eats minestrone. Tomatoes really bother Randy, and even though I tried to take some steps to reduce the acid of the tomato part of the minestrone, he just can't do it. So I'm responsible for like about 3 quarts of minestrone. So 2 of the quarts I stuck in the freezer. One of them I'm working on now. So minestrone will be great later. And we also had a bunch of green beans. So that our minestrone has green beans and pasta, and then cannellini beans as well. So good stuff, good hearty stuff. You can top it with Parmesan or cheddar or a little squirt of lemon if you like lemon. Okay, so that's gardening, cooking, horses. So I hurt my back on the 20th. I was trying to do something very good for myself, and I think might have mentioned this during my last podcast. So I haven't ridden my bike in a long time, and summer, I don't know, even though it's Northwest Washington, doesn't get super hot. It's just, the temperature has been over 80 for a long time, and that's kind of warm for here. So I'm not used to it, and all that to say, I haven't ridden my bike in a long time. This time of year, I get excited about riding my bike again. So I was going to go on a nice easy training ride. Well, the dumb thing that I did is that instead of pushing my bike through the gate out to the road, I was like, oh, well, I'll just hoist it over the fence. Our fence is like 4.5 feet tall. Why? I don't know. Am I 12? I guess I am sometimes. So I rode my bike, flung my bike over the fence, slipped through the fence, got on my bike, rode 10 miles, came back, didn't go through the gate again, flipped it back over, patting myself on the back. What a great ride, yay for me. And then I went in the house to make lunch, and I swear I just bent over to do something stupid, like pick a paper clip off the floor, whatever, and my back went out, and it was painful, and has been really painful. So I pulled a muscle, I think it's the psoas muscle, which is kind of deep. It's the muscle that kind of connects your femur to your spine, like both, maybe bottom ribs, roughly. I don't know. I'm not a physiologist, or I'm not an expert in anatomy and physiology. So But I have hurt that muscle before, making a poor decision. So I'm familiar with it. I don't think I've hurt it quite that bad before. So, I mean, it hurt to sleep because every time I moved, I couldn't stand up straight for a long time. This is a very long-winded way of saying that I haven't really been doing anything with the horses except the basic fair feed and making sure they have water and fly spray on them. They've basically been on vacation. I'm hoping to get out there this afternoon and reintroduce them to the horse trailer. So I'm starting to feel a lot better. I'm almost caught up on picking the manure out of the pasture because I really had to let that go while my back was so sore. I mean, my main priority is to make sure the basic necessity is food and water. I can catch up on the rest of it later. So almost caught up on the picking the poop and out of the pasture, and I can pretty much stand up straight. I've been sleeping really well the last couple nights. It hasn't woken me up every time I turn over, and there are more sleeping positions available to me. So I have a kitty in here that's investigating my yarn. So hopefully I'll have more to say about that. And I'm at it's 36 minutes, goodness. So I'm at the Indie Bits, borrowed that phrase from the Bakery Bears. So the closing bits, I'll tag on a couple photos from this week. We've had a lot of construction around here. We had our bathroom redone we had to fix a leaky shower and ended up remodeling the whole bathroom. I don't know how those projects grow, but they do. So anyway, our bathroom's really nice. That's been done for a while. But then the wood floor in the bedroom had to be refinished because a contractor had put down some tape, taped down a paper path for the contractors to walk back and forth so they wouldn't, wear down the wood floor. And unfortunately, the sticky tape left a residue on there that was really obvious where the tape had been. So we had to get somebody in to take that off, and she was just here, I think about a week. We had to get some work done on our chimney because the siding was rotting and falling off, so we had that done. So I will include a photo from that effort this week. It was a little hot. And also, we had our septic system inspected this morning, and I took a picture. It's nothing gross, so, it's a discreet picture. But, I just want to encourage, if you are on a septic system, to get it inspected somewhat regularly. Just make sure, it's a good idea. It's an expensive piece of your property. As far as value-wise goes, it's about as expensive as your roof. So make sure you get it inspected once in a while, so that it maintains a good working order and it has a good lifespan. So I feel like I'm bringing a little bit of my work life here, which is fine. It's I work in public health, and I have oversight over on-site sewage systems in the county I work for. So this is a mantra I preach a lot about: getting your septic system inspected regularly and maintained so that hopefully you won't have any big expensive bills. And just keep in mind that if you were on sewer, that would cost you probably about $80 a month, every month, every year, if not more, depending on where you live. And a septic inspection, the basic inspection, might be $200 to $300 every year or two, depending on your type of system. So that is my public service announcement for today. And I have included in my show notes all the inspiration. I need to add that one from the Danish designer, the name that I can't pronounce, but she's really fun. She speaks English too. The Kammeborn one is the only one that is non-American, that doesn't speak English. So I listen to a lot of Canadian podcasts. Also, I want to highlight one that I started listening to. They're not Canadian. I mean, I like the Grocery Girls and I like the Gentle Knitter. I feel like there's more. There's a lot of podcasters in the Northeast. Really haven't found any in the Northwest. So, not sure why. There's a lot of designers in the Northwest, but the one I just started listening to is Needles at the Ready. I forgot their names already, but they are two men who knit, and I found them, really engaging. So recommend them. Arne and Carlos, they're Norwegian. Knit All the Yarn is from Michigan. Seedling Stitch, she is from Vancouver. Like her a lot. I have some horsemanship podcasts. Fruity Knitting, they are Australian that live in Germany. Woolen Forest Knits, they are from the Northeast. Bakery Bears is from Great Britain. Crazy Sock Lady, I think, is from Texas, maybe. I just started watching her. Wool Gathering Collective, they don't podcast anymore. In fact, I think they stopped about 5 years ago. But they're Canadian. I really enjoyed them. So their episodes are still on their YouTube channel. So highly recommend them as well. So that's all I have. That's for this week. I'm going to test out the shiny new internet to see how fast this uploads. So there may be, I don't know, in my dreams, the video will be uploaded before the show notes. So be assured that the show notes will appear shortly. Okay, bye.